Have you ever had a long to-do list and wondered what you should focus on? In this video, I'll share a tarot spread to help you figure it out and the surprising results from doing the same reading twice. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 3-card spread to figure out what I need to focus on over the next 2 days. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. I perform a reading for myself every morning. It's usually a question that I answer using a 3-card spread. It's very seldom that I can't figure out what to ask. In fact, it's usually the opposite. I will have several questions or something will come up during the day that I'll write down as the subject for the following day's reading. Often I'll have additional questions queued up. That was not the case on January 9th, 2025. I had a long to-do list, and it was one of those days when it was all over the place. Not only did I have YouTube scripts to write, but I also needed to go grocery shopping, do some cooking, pay some bills, exercise, and book my next trip to Canada to see my family. The other biggie is that I'd recently purchased some grow lights for my houseplants, which were not doing well during our cold New York winter. If my budget would allow, I needed many more, and the ones I'd purchased were on tripods that were too short and too flimsy. So I was trying to figure out a better configuration, purchase some sturdier tripods, and try to make the whole system work in a small space. So I had lots planned for the day, but I couldn't think of a specific question to ask for my reading. So I decided to use a 3-card spread and ask the question, what do I need to focus on today? Stay tuned for what happened when I did the reading again the following day. Card number 1 was what my mind needed today. I drew the 9 of Pentacles. Card number 2 was what my body needed today. I drew the 9 of Wands reversed. Card number 3 was what my spirit needed today. I drew the World reversed. Let's begin with my first impressions. I found this to be quite interesting. I immediately knew that the first card was about appreciating all of the blessings that I have. The second 2 cards really surprised me. I had expected to see cards about forward motion, such as the Chariot, or something like the Emperor about self-discipline or getting organized. Not so. The reversed 10 of Wands was about exhaustion, and the reversed World was about incompletion. So I felt like the reading was going to be less about accomplishing things and more about accepting my limits, which was definitely not what I wanted to see. Sometimes tarot can just be very frustrating. I didn't realize until midday that January 9th was actually a national day of mourning in the United States concerning the death of former President Jimmy Carter. So federal offices were closed and people were asked to take a moment to pay their respects. I thought it was kind of interesting that resting was actually in the air. So let's look at each card individually. Card number 1 was what my mind needed today. I drew the 9 of Pentacles. First of all, I love this card because it shows an independent, beautifully dressed, wealthy woman enjoying her garden. It's a message to stop and enjoy the literal fruits of our labor, in this case, grapes. Taking care of houseplants is a relatively new hobby for me after I took my daughter plant shopping for her birthday about 9 months ago. I hadn't purchased plants for more than 30 years because I couldn't keep them alive. However, I got caught up in my daughter's enthusiasm and bought a few. I was ecstatic that they lived and even thrived, and our weekend hobby became visiting nurseries and buying more plants. I don't do anything halfway and now have about 60 plants, and she has many more than I do. By the way, 60 plants does not reflect how many plants I purchased. That's how many are still alive. My plants were mostly doing well until winter hit. We keep our house pretty cold, which is 55 degrees at night and 60 degrees during the day, and some of my plants haven't appreciated the cold temperatures combined with the low humidity and lack of light. To solve this problem, I purchased some grow lights. And figuring out how to distribute a few grow lights amongst 60 plants was one of the things I had on my to-do list. In this card, we can see the woman relaxing in front of her grapevines. So I took this as a message that I needed to figure out my plant situation and I would be rewarded eventually. Note the dead grass in front of the lush garden, which tells me that even amazing gardeners don't have a 100% success rate. The next thing the Nine of Pentacles tells me is that my mind needs to focus on gratitude. I need to be grateful for the blessings in my life and the abundance that I've experienced. The woman is alone and appears to be doing very well for herself. In addition to growing grapes, we can see that she's also into falconry. We can see that she's not working. She's taking a break and gently touching the pentacle. This card is about balance and self-care. It's a message that I can enjoy the finer things in life. It's also a reminder that it's important for me to take time for myself away from the hustle and bustle of the world. Another message of this card is that my mind needs to focus on personal growth. We can see that this woman has a lot of skills. I don't think that she came out of the womb knowing how to cultivate grapes or handle birds of prey. She learned this. The final message of this card was inspired by falconry. We can see a falconer's glove on her left hand and a hooded falcon on top of it. As an aside, I did a bunch of research on falconry for my video on the Knight of Pentacles, which I'll link to below, and they were a contradiction. Falcons were expensive to keep and a sign of luxury. They were used as peace offerings and also highly valued gifts. They were also trainable and used to hunt small prey such as rabbits. Falcons could also be trained to attack larger prey such as deer and then weaken them enough that the trained dogs could finish off the kill. My research included learning about the medieval training methods for falcons, which was a huge mistake. Let's just say they were trained in very cruel ways, and I'm not going to ruin your day by sharing it here. The contradiction I spoke about is that birds generally represent freedom, yet here we have a creature who is hooded and trained, and not nice ways, to kill on the command of a beautiful woman. I think falconry is a good metaphor for learning to control our minds. Falcons are very focused on the job at hand, which happens to be killing, and tuning out distractions along the way. Then they come back to the falconer, who puts on their hood, and they chill out for a while and regroup. I take this to mean that I need to accept when I need a break, especially after I've accomplished something that has been difficult. In summary, the Nine of Pentacles tells me that my mind needs to focus on gratitude, learning, and self-care. I also need to remember to take breaks to appreciate the rewards of my hard work and to recover from things that are difficult. Card number 2 was what my body needed today. I drew the Nine of Wands reversed. When the Nine of Wands appears in an upright position, we can see a beat-up young man holding onto a wand. He's standing on a stage. Behind him we see a beautiful green countryside, which represents health, vitality, and hope. However, the wands look like prison bars that are keeping him from enjoying it. The message of this card is that you've fought hard to get where you are and are continuing to fight. You need to persevere, even if it keeps you from enjoying the beauty of the world. In the reverse position, the Nine of Wands is a message that you don't have enough energy to continue. You might be burnt out, overwhelmed, or just plain pushing yourself too hard. I think this was my message for today. My body didn't need to be pushed through my lengthy to-do list. It needed to relax. I thought it was interesting that this was the same message as the previous card. Apparently, tarot was telling me that my body needed to rest. Card number 3 was what my spirit needed today. I drew the World reversed. The World is the final card in the Major Arcana and represents the end of the Fool's journey. In the upright position, it tells us that you've overcome obstacles and represents completion, fulfillment, happiness, enlightenment, and success. If I'd gotten the World in the upright position, it would have been a message that I would have sailed through my to-do list and my spirit would benefit from hard work. However, the World is in the reverse position. It represents incompletion, being out of balance, and being unable to get closure. This is what happens when you focus on creating a massive to-do list, because it's really impossible to get everything done when there are only so many hours in a day. Trying to do too much seems to be a theme of this reading. It can also be a message that my spirit feels disconnected, which makes sense because I will be too busy trying to accomplish things to focus on my spiritual life. The Upright World card represents completion of external events. That might be completing a big project at work, an educational milestone such as graduating from college, or a personal event such as getting married or retiring. In the reverse position, the World is a message to focus inward on what I want to accomplish internally, such as prioritizing self-care or letting go of negative beliefs that are holding me back. In summary, the World reverse tells me that I am disconnected from spirit, and that's not going to be fixed by running errands. I need to prioritize my spiritual life, look inward, and concentrate on self-care. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Before I summarize the cards, I just want to mention that I decided to do the same reading the following day, just to make sure that my answers weren't a fluke. You can see the comparison below. In the first reading, the Knight of Pentacles told me that my mind needed to focus on gratitude, learning, and self-care. I also needed to take breaks to appreciate the rewards of my hard work and to recover from things that are difficult. In the second reading, I drew the Three of Wands. This message was about looking toward the future, staying open to possibilities, and letting things unfold naturally. In the first reading, the reverse Nine of Wands was a message that my body didn't have enough energy to continue. I was pushing myself too hard and needed to relax. In the second reading, the Seven of Wands reversed gave the exact same message. I was pushing myself too hard and needed to focus on protecting my energy. And that brings us to the third card about what my spirit needed today. In the first reading, the reversed World told me that I was disconnected from spirit. I needed to prioritize my spiritual life, look inward, and focus on self-care. In the second reading, I drew Judgment reversed, and the message was very similar to the World. I needed to stop being so hard on myself, learn from past mistakes, and focus on renewing trust in myself so I could move forward. I really like this spread, and I think I will use it often. I also love that I got very similar messages both days. I know that I tend to be hard on myself and want to accomplish more than I can physically do. As I mentioned in an earlier video, which I'll link to below, my goal for 2025 was to embody the Temperance card, which was all about balance. These readings were conducted less than 2 weeks into 2025, and I guessed that I already needed a reminder. I hope this video will help you with your tarot readings. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.